The first time I saw this painting, I thought that it was just a simple portrait of a man and a woman. Wait, who are they? And what's that? This is the Arnolfini Portrait by Jan van Eyck, a painting layered with so much symbolism that it sparked countless theories that we're still arguing about today. So to uncover what's really going on, we first have to ask, who are the people in the painting? And why do they look so aloof? Because if we look at everything from their intricately carved furniture to their outfits made of luxurious fabrics, one thing is clear. These people are wealthy. They're surrounded by so much abundance and excess, yet they look so unfazed by it. This is the work of the Flemish painter Jan van Eyck, one of the most brilliant artists of the Northern Renaissance who was known for his realistic portraits of nobles, merchants, churchmen, and religious subjects. And with only 20 of his paintings surviving today, the Arnolfini Portrait feels all the more remarkable. So what's really going on here? And why does this couple look so withdrawn? Because while they are holding hands, neither of them are looking at each other. They both have these blank, emotionless expressions. Well, during the Northern Renaissance, portraits were meant to convey the sitter's social status in a controlled, dignified manner. Smiling or showing strong emotion in a formal portrait could suggest a lack of refinement, while a composed, restrained expression felt timeless. And practically speaking, was far easier to sustain during long hours of sitting. And Jan van Eyck captured all of this beautifully, because after all, he is known for his masterful rendering and oil painting techniques. I mean, just look at how he rendered everything from the delicate textures of their clothing to the sparkling reflections on the chandelier. It's this technical mastery that would influence generations of artists to come, including the pre-Raphaelite painter Edward Burne-Jones, who in 1897 declared the Arnolfini Portrait the finest picture in the world. But one thing I noticed right away is how balanced, symmetrical, and almost claustrophobic this composition feels. The figures sit nearly equidistant from the edges of the canvas, the background elements carry equal visual weight on both sides, and every corner is packed with detail, leaving you with almost no place to rest your eyes. But Jan van Eyck was clever. Look at the floor and you'll see how he subtly leads our eyes across the painting without us even noticing. Because between each wooden plank, there are grooves that form lines that subconsciously lead us straight to this mirror. So what's the significance of the mirror? And what does it reveal? Because at first I thought this was just a portrait of a couple. But look closer and the mirror tells us a whole different story. It actually reflects 4 people in the room. The man believed to be either Giovanni de Arrigo Arnolfini or his cousin, Giovanni de Nicolao Arnolfini, both wealthy Italian merchants. And the woman believed to be either Giovanni de Arrigo's wife, Jeanne Cenami, or Giovanni de Nicolao's wife, Costanza Trenta. And 2 more mysterious figures standing in front of them. In a painting meant to show off this couple's status and wealth, the 2 additional figures feel intrusive and unnecessary. But remember when I said that this painting is loaded with symbolism and continues to spark debate? Well, this mirror is just the tip of the iceberg. Look closer and you'll find shoes, oranges, a statue, a broom, a cherry tree, prayer beads, a dog, and even the artist's signature. At first glance, these details don't seem very symbolic, but to Jan van Eyck's audience, they're loaded with meaning. In the 15th century, removing one's shoes would suggest they're in a holy place. Just as Moses removed his shoes before the burning bush, this couple took theirs off to honor the sanctity of the room. And right between the couple stands a small dog symbolizing loyalty, devotion, and fidelity. Now look at the middle of the composition and you'll find oranges placed on a windowsill and chest. Oranges signaled wealth, as they were rare and expensive, but here they also hold a deeper meaning. Look at Van Eyck's Ghent altarpiece. Oranges appear in the background and in Eve's hand to represent the state of innocence before the fall of man. Therefore, this fruit carries the double meaning that, yes, this couple is wealthy, but also their union and their intentions are pure. And as we approach the upper half of the composition, more symbols emerge. a cherry tree to symbolize love, prayer beads to symbolize their devotion, and a broom to symbolize the responsibility of managing a household. And then there's the statue of Saint Margaret, the patron saint of childbirth. The story goes, she was swallowed by a dragon and emerged unscathed, thus becoming a symbol of protection during pregnancy and labor. At a time when childbirth was extremely dangerous, those who called upon Saint Margaret would have a safe delivery, in the same way that she was safely delivered from the dragon's belly. Now look at the artist's signature just above the mirror. It translates to Jan van Eyck was here 1434. So why did the artist place his signature in the center of the painting when artists of the Northern Renaissance often worked anonymously? Well, its bold placement suggests that he was a witness to something, and the mirror seems to support this theory, because according to legal practices of the 15th century, a wedding needed 2 witnesses for a marriage to be valid. So if we look at the mirror, where we see one man in red believed to be Jan van Eyck and one person in blue, then this requirement is fulfilled. And if we consider all the hidden symbols scattered throughout the painting, then this isn't just a simple portrait anymore, but it's a pictorial marriage certificate and the visual equivalent of the wedding vow to have and to hold from this day forward. But while some scholars believe that this painting served as a pictorial marriage certificate, others disagree, and it's easy to see why. Because if any question arose about the marriage's validity, the testimony of eyewitnesses would have been far preferable to the painting. And also, preserving the memory of one's marriage by portraiture was not at all customary at the time. So now with this in mind, we have to ponder, what was Jan van Eyck trying to communicate? So let's go back to that mirror and see what else it reveals. Around the mirror are 10 medallions, each depicting a scene from the Passion of Christ. And above the mirror hangs an ornate brass chandelier holding 2 candles. To understand their significance, we first need to identify the couple. For years, people thought this was Giovanni de Arrigo Arnolfini and his wife Jeanne Cenami, but documents discovered in the 90s reveal that the couple didn't get married until 1447, 13 years after the portrait was painted. That means that the man in the painting is actually his cousin, Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini, and his wife, Costanza Trenta. We can confirm this by comparing a portrait Jan van Eyck painted of him in 1435, just 1 year after completing the Arnolfini portrait. See? They look very similar. Now, remember how I said this composition feels extremely symmetrical? Well, that wasn't just for aesthetics, because if we split the painting down the middle, a new narrative emerges. Look at the candles in the chandelier. The candle above Arnolfini burns brightly, while the candle above his wife is snuffed out. A snuffed candle symbolizes death and mourning. Now, let's look at those medallions again. On Arnolfini's side, the images recount Christ's life, and on his wife's side, they depict Christ's death and resurrection. Jan van Eyck finished the Arnolfini portrait in 1434, but Arnolfini's wife Costanza Trenta would never see it because she passed away just 1 year earlier. Suddenly, the narrative evolves once more. This isn't a pictorial marriage certificate, but a memorial portrait, and the visual equivalent of the wedding vow, to love and to cherish till death do us part. So why did Jan van Eyck include so much layered symbolism into what looks like just a painting of a wealthy couple posed in their home? Well, this was typical of the Northern Renaissance, where painters used layered symbolism to encourage the viewer to slow down and contemplate rather than present a single definitive interpretation. And Jan van Eyck was known to do this, because he would create scenes that align with his own personal aesthetic as well as his patron's aspirations. We can also see this by looking at the way he builds his scenes and plays with perspective. Rather than directing every angle towards a single vanishing point, let's just say Jan van Eyck took some creative liberties. So now if we stop reading this as a literal record and instead see it as a constructed image, the spotlight shifts to Jan van Eyck's choices, the choices that reveal his worldview, his beliefs, and his observations. For example, his decision to leave the couple's shoes off suggests that the sacred exists in everyday life. His decision to place the broom closer to Arnolfini's wife reveals his beliefs about gender roles, and his decision to include his own reflection and signature suggests that he is an important central figure in the painting. But that last decision regarding his reflection and signature was very unusual to see in paintings from the Northern Renaissance, where many artists worked anonymously because they were considered tradesmen, like a carpenter or blacksmith, rather than intellectuals. But by boldly asserting his authorship, Jan van Eyck elevated the social status of the artist and helped pave the way for many others to do the same. But this painting continues to spark debate today, so tell me what you think. How do you interpret this painting? I'd love to know. Oh, and before I forget, no, Arnolfini's wife is not pregnant. Women just held their skirts up like that to adhere to proper decorum. And more importantly, has anyone managed to find the dog's reflection in the mirror? Because I've looked and I can't see it anywhere. I have to know, where did the dog go? It's moments like this when I wish I could travel back in time and just ask Jan van Eyck himself.